Well, Lacey, I need to officially introduce you properly. I'm Shivan Sarna. Since we just hit record, I wanted to mention that again, founder of Chronic Condition Rescue and SIBO SOS. It's a pleasure to have you all here. This is Lacey Hall, and Lacey has a very distinctive title. She is a registered dietitian. She's also the head of the scientific affairs at Microbiome Labs. So every month, I'm so blessed to have a Microbiome Labs speaker come and share their expertise with my community. And she is their boss. So I'll just leave it at that. They're all doing a great job, Lacey, and it's thrilling to have you here today. We're going to be talking about how to expand your diet. We're going to be talking about FODMAPs. We're going to be talking about enzymes. And now I'm officially handing things over to you. So go, share your screen.
Absolutely. Thanks. Oh, I'm a boss. It makes me sound tough, but I'm not. Hopefully we have a lot of fun. Let me share my desktop.
Speakers and trainers.
Give me one moment. I'm so sorry. It's asking me to.
Well, good. Where are y'all from? I would love to know where you're from in the chat. If you do, that is one request that I have. We have New Hampshire. Hi, Suzette. Anybody from overseas? Anybody? Idaho, Fresno. Great, great, great. Iowa, Boulder, Richardson, PA, England, Canada, Maryland. Thank you. Thank you. Vegas, St. Pete. Hey, Julia. So great. Southern Cal, Stillwater, Oklahoma. Love it. All right.
Wow, everywhere. I just absolutely love it. And I am here located in Chicago and excited to talk to you today about unlocking the mysteries of FODMAPs and navigating food sensitivities for a healthier and happier gut, which is what we all want, right? If you're on this call and you've experienced any food sensitivities or uncomfortable feelings with your gut, then hopefully we can shed some light on some tactical ways and easy things to do to help you feel better on a day-to-day. So today we'll keep it nice and light, and we'll go over some of items that are listed here. What are FODMAPs? So we'll dig into what are FODMAPs, some of these pesky food components that can cause some discomfort. What does a FODMAP sensitivity look like? The power of digestive enzymes that you can use day to day to support FODMAP digestion, and how healing your gut can aid in overall digestion and overall health and quality of life, which is really, really important in situations like this because it ends up playing a role in your day to day, how you're feeling, how you're interacting with people. So let's start with some nutritional science, some food science components to really set the stage here. So as we get into FODMAPs, let's first define what is fiber. And I'm sure you've all heard of fiber. What is fiber though? Fiber, they're components of carbohydrates in foods that your body cannot break down. So they're parts of the carbohydrates that are in our diet that your body does not have enzymes to break down. Now, all fibers are carbohydrates, but not all carbohydrates are fiber. So we'll look into some examples of carbohydrates versus fiber so that you can be a sleuth and a detective when you're at the grocery store and building your plate to know what are your fiber components and what is the breakdown of the diet that you're consuming on a day-to-day basis. Now, when we look at fiber and we get into this nerded out look as to how we can classify fiber, it's based on how well it breaks down in water. And then how is your gut breaking it down? Now, like I said, they're non-digestible carbohydrates, so your body isn't breaking them down. It provides no healthy component necessarily to your own nutritional needs, but it's a really good food source for bacteria. So they love to chomp them down. So that's really one of the main purposes of fiber in our diet is to be a microbiome food source. But they're fermentable. Fermentable fibers, as they're broken down in our body, they are eaten up by bacteria, and this can lead to the production of gas. This can lead to the production of different bacterial components, a lot of them being extremely beneficial. And normally, we want to support our bacterial residents and the foods that they love so that they can ferment and create something called short chain fatty acids, which are really important when we get into our colon. But fibers can also cause a lot of GI upset when that fermentation equals a lot of air production, which can then lead to gas, bloating, GERD, and esophageal reflux and reflux disorders in the stomach. Now, when you're consuming foods and you're consuming fiber, naturally your body should should not have a lot of bacteria living in your stomach or living in your small intestine. The majority of the bacteria in your body should be living in the colon, as we see on this picture here on the left-hand side of the screen. So most of this fermentation should take place in the colon. But we know that in certain conditions like SIBO and IBS and acid reflux, sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes there's a higher level of bacteria living in the small intestine, which can lead to a lot of pain and bloatedness in the upper portions of the gastrointestinal tract, in the small intestine. Now, bloating anywhere in the colon or small intestine can be very uncomfortable. And I would love to see a show of hands of how many women actually like to feel bloated. It's so uncomfortable when you feel like you're 6 months pregnant, but you know it was just that last meal that you ate. It can become really problematic. So let's take a look at some carbohydrates and stay in our food science sector right now. What are we looking at? So when we look at the buildup or the building of carbohydrates, let's start at the most simple level. Monosaccharides, meaning one sugar, one saccharide. It's the simplest type of sugar that we find in our diet. And there's 3 types that you've probably heard of some of the names. We have glucose, we have fructose, that's found in fruit, and then we have galactose, which is a component of milk sugar. Now, we string these together, and this is like a pearl necklace. So if we think of all these little sugars strung together, each little component, it creates a chain. So this entire chain is a very long carbohydrate. This is when all of those monosaccharides are strung together in this pearl necklace. But one individual pearl would be considered a monosaccharide, and another monosaccharide built together. And so this creates that very long and complex carbohydrate. Now, when we get into the combination of 2 monosaccharides joined together, we call this a disaccharide. And there are 3 types of disaccharides that you find very commonly in the foods that you're eating and drinking and encountering every single day. There's sucrose, which is a combination of 2 monosaccharides, glucose and fructose. Linked together, you have table sugar. There's lactose, glucose and galactose linked together, you have the sugar portion of milk. And maltose, glucose and glucose, we find these in malt and grains and in many different types of fruits as well. So we have our 2 monosaccharides. So we're building our pearl necklace, right? And then we get into a little bit bigger of a chain of that pearl necklace. Here we're encountering oligosaccharides. This means few sugar components that are linked together. So you have a range, of course, between 3 and 20 monosaccharide components that are put together. And as you see, we're getting into healthier food groups. These are known as prebiotic fibers, and they're some of the healthiest groups of the healthiest groups of fibers that you can use to feed your bacteria. Your bacteria love to ferment these and create that gas and also create healthy short chain fatty acids. But it can be a trigger for those GI symptoms that many people are sensitive to and susceptible to. So we find oligosaccharides in a number of food sources, fructooligosaccharides in garlic, onions, chicory root, asparagus, jicama, and leeks. We find galacto-oligosaccharides in the dairy component, the non-digestible dairy component of dairy products, legumes like beans and lentils, and different root vegetables. And oligosaccharides found in wheat bran, but also corn cob, which of course isn't readily eaten, but often found in dietary supplements. And then inulin fiber found in wheat, onion, banana, leek, artichoke, asparagus, and chicory root. And I have a table of where a lot of these oligosaccharides can be found as well later in the slide deck. Now, these are not bad foods, even though they can cause some symptoms. They're foods that play a necessary role in our nutritional health, providing nutrients for us and helping to, again, feed our microbiome. So we want to get along with those foods. And we'll talk about solutions to that later on in the presentation. Now, the last part of our carbohydrate tour, when we're thinking about that long pearl necklace, are polysaccharides. That's when we have long chains of hundreds to up to thousands of monosaccharides that are strung together. And again, this is another area where bacteria can ferment the carbohydrate to become a trigger for gastrointestinal uncomfortableness. So some examples of these long chains, these polysaccharides that you encounter in your diet, are actual fibers from beans, from even avocado, but there's a mix there, different types of starches, resistant starch, which is a result of cooking and cooling different fibers, becoming not something you absorb, and it's not even something that would impact your blood sugar, but it will stay undigested again to feed your bacteria. And then we have these protein carbohydrate combinations that you find in a lot of the really hot and popular items in the dietary supplement industry right now, like hyaluronic acid, bone broths and collagens, glucosamines and chondroitins that we're utilizing in a lot of the functional food realms day to day. And so we have this combination there that has a polysaccharide component to it. And then some of the mucilaginous herbs that are also used in a lot of gut healing protocols, like slippery elm and marshmallow root, aloe. These are very comforting and soothing, but with some individuals, they can cause some fermentation issues and some bloating as well. And then last on our carbohydrate tour are polyols. Polyols are things like sugar alcohols. And the difference with the way in which you break these down is that oftentimes they pull in a lot of water into the gastrointestinal tract. They create this surge of water. It's called an increase in osmotic load. And the sugar alcohol can lead to different types of symptoms like diarrhea, because it's creating this pull of water into the intestinal tract. Now, there's 3 types of sugar alcohols. Erythritol typically is known as a low FODMAP food. I'll get into FODMAPs more, but it doesn't usually cause as much bloating compared to the other sugar alcohols, but you still have to be careful. Because of it being a low FODMAP choice, oftentimes people can overdo it because they think that it's not going to cause bloating, like xylitol, mannitol, or sorbitol that are occurring in a lot of fruits and vegetables as you listed here. So these are also carbohydrates in the sugar alcohol form, but they can either be more man-made or even naturally occurring as well. So here's a nice cheat sheet. If you have a question about what are FODMAPs, FODMAPs are fermentable oligosaccharides. Remember the small chain, disaccharides, 2 monosaccharides, and a monosaccharide or polyol, FODMAPs. These are FODMAP foods that when they are consumed, when they reach an area where there's a high bacterial concentration, whether that's in the small intestine or the large intestine, they can cause a high amount of fermentation that lead to bloating, to gas, to diarrhea or abdominal pain that become very uncomfortable. So this is a good cheat sheet of knowing where some of the different fructans, galacto-oligosaccharides, lactose components, fructose, and polyols are located within your diet. Now, take a look at this diet. We're listing out some of the healthiest groups of types of food that are known to us that we want to get in our diet. We don't want to avoid these types of foods because they provide such nutritional value to us. They fill in our micronutrient gaps and needs and play a role in liver health and bone health and brain health. And so there has to be a solution to live harmoniously with the FODMAPs that are in our diet. Now, when you're choosing to do a low FODMAP diet, there is an absolute time and a place and a need for it, again, especially to people that are suffering and feeling uncomfortable day to day. But we have 2 main goals. We want to decrease that osmotic load. That's the water pulling into the intestinal tract and causing that bloated feeling, in some cases causing diarrhea. And we also want to decrease that bacterial fermentation, that sort of bacterial factory that's eating those specific food components and having a field day, causing that uncomfortable bloated feeling. So when we reduce the FODMAP foods, we often reduce those digestive symptoms that are associated with IBS, SIBO, flatulence and gas, bloating, constipation, and diarrhea, which covers quite a gamut of the GI complaints that we hear, especially from women. Now, this type of diet, again, because of its the healthy components that are in that list, it should be temporary. but we see really, really good results when you do take out the FODMAP foods. If you look down at the pink box on the left, pros, we see that 80% of patients with IBS are put into remission of symptoms within 3 weeks of following a FODMAP diet, low FODMAP diet. And that is very empowering because it gives them a lot of their life back. But the cons are that it's very complex, it's very restrictive, it's starving the microbiome of the foods that it needs to be healthy and to protect our systemic health. It's hard to join individuals and eat what they're eating. It's not fun. Food should be shared with individuals that we love, and it should be something that we're celebrating. It shouldn't feel like a punishment. So we definitely don't want somebody looking to a diet like this to stay on for the rest of their life. We hope that it's gradually reintroducing one food at a time while monitoring symptoms and figuring out what is the trigger for you. What does your personalized low FODMAP diet look like? So we can start restrictive for a few weeks, get things under control, and hopefully reintroduce. It takes a lot of commitment, but it can really help you. Now, what's happening? Why aren't we able to digest these different types of fibers in our body? Now, as we age, we have a reduction in enzymes that are breaking down these fibers in the gut and in the upper portions of the digestive tract too. What are enzymes? Enzymes are like little scissors that are growing around and taking that pearl necklace and snip, 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 snipping it into small little components and substances that are able to be absorbed into the bloodstream that can provide nutritional value or provide some sort of function to the body. Now, again, these types of fibers aren't broken down by human enzymes. We don't have human enzymes that break down those complex fibers because that's reserved specifically for your bacteria. So there isn't something that we have in our body to break them down, which is why so many people tend to feel bloated. Now, when it comes to just regular carbohydrates like the disaccharides, we do have different enzymes to break them down into becoming glucose. We have enzymes to break proteins down to become amino acids, and we have enzymes to break down fats to become fatty acids that can be absorbed, of course. And this is paramount to our overall health. And most of this, 90% of it, is happening in that first portion of your small intestine when you're eating food, or as your stomach completes its digestion. So what can we do about it? We've got to have a hero of the day, and today that hero is FODMATE. FODMATE is an enzyme blend that is formulated to break down these highly fermentable FODMATE foods. So we want to use it to help provide relief from those symptoms of constipation, of abdominal cramping and bloating, gas and pain. So this is something that you can use along a low FODMAP diet to really get the best outcomes. And with something like this, you're going to have more freedom too, because you can't live in a bubble and nobody wants to. I personally love using it for the foods that give me more irritation. I use it in a very targeted fashion because I know which foods give me the most discomfort. And so I use it more strategically depending on what I'm eating. But if you're going through any sort of SIBO protocol or IBS protocol, this is something that will be your saving grace that will make you feel really good. So the types of enzymes that we formulated in FODMATE help to support the breakdown of those high FODMAP foods. So we have a lactase, which helps break down the sugar in cow's milk. We have a very high dose of this, higher than things that you're going to find on the market, like lactate is something that breaks down lactase, but it's at such a small dose. Same with our enzyme to break down oligosaccharides. This is another common ingredient that's found on store shelves, but we have a dose that's 14 higher than the commonly found one on store shelves. So you're just getting that potent dose that's going to give you the therapeutic relief that you're looking for. With our endo and exo inulinase, it helps break down inulin fiber. The glucose isomerase is breaking down fructose sugar and helping to convert fructose into glucose, making it easier for your body to absorb. So going back to some of the enzymes that your body is already making, like amylase, it's helping to cut that pearl necklace at that little peptide link, or I'm sorry, that disaccharide link, in order for your body to absorb it. Pectinase is helping to break down pectin fiber, and it's allowing the enzymes in your body and working collectively with them to be more effective as well. So a note on this, we talked a little bit about polyols, the sugar alcohols. So the sorbitol, the erythritol, and this product does not work on polyols. So there is a little bit of an area there where you might be more sensitive to those. And we would just recommend, taking note of what types of FODMAPs are causing more discomfort. And if polyols is one of your triggers, then just note that you can't go to town eating a bunch of polyols and expect it to work. So how do you dose it? Now, because this is an enzyme blend, enzymes are made up of proteins. Now, where does protein breakdown begin? In the stomach. So we don't want these enzymes to open up in the stomach and have your stomach acids start to denature the protein. Think of that as like cooking an egg. When you cook an egg, you're cooking protein. And we see what happens when it's exposed, in this case, to heat. It turns to a cooked egg. Well, the same thing happens in your stomach, essentially. When enzymes are exposed to a really low pH, an acidic compound, it can denature and change the protein of the enzyme structure. So we want it to get into the small intestine. Now, when you're consuming FODMATE, you want to do a couple of caps to 3 caps if you have a high FODMAP food, or 1 cap with a lower FODMAP meal. Again, our goal and our intention is for this to be a temporary intervention for you, 2 to 3 months maximum. Or if you know foods that are a trigger for you and you still want to enjoy them, keep it in your cupboard, keep it for the time that you know you're going to be eating them and you just want to enjoy them without suffering the consequences. It has a 2-year shelf life, so it lasts a long time if you're using it in that targeted fashion anyway. So with this delayed release, here we have a picture of what's happening with the delayed release capsules. We see on the left here that the capsules are reaching the stomach, and then it starts to release its contents as it's left the stomach. So it starts at the end of that digestive process within the stomach, but it's fully opened and released into the intestines, which is where it's going to have the most effect at preventing the bloatedness, the air, the gas, and the pain, the distension that can occur following a high FODMAP meal. So when do we want to turn to using the product? Of course, in patients with SIBO, it can do a really great job by preventing the food source, by limiting the food source available to bacteria that are living in the small intestine. So we want to prevent those bacteria that are living in the small intestine to have a food source. We want to starve them out, as it is a component to a SIBO protocol. For patients with acid reflux or GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease, when there's a lot of pressure in the upper portion of your small intestine, that puts pressure on your stomach. That's pushing your stomach up, causing a lot of pressure, causing acid reflux. Similar to what happens in pregnancy. It's kind of similar. You've got all that pressure in your abdominal cavity pushing up. In IBS, patients that swing, especially between diarrhea and constipation, some of that becomes debilitating and drives their decisions on a day-to-day basis of where they can go, what they can do. So this is going to hopefully give them relief and more freedom to live their life. So any patient that's experienced excessive flatulence or bloating symptoms, especially if you figured out your trigger foods, anybody that has been recommended to be on a low FODMAP diet, and if you're really frustrated with this dietary restriction, our goal at Microbiome Labs is to really give people their life back. Our goal is to help you heal. And this is one part of that healing protocol. We kind of joke around it. It's like a tagline we're working on, but we wait for the day that you no longer need us, meaning we've gotten you back to where you need to be, that our products are working to heal your body. So this, in combination with other protocols, can help give you that comfort, relief, and hopefully healing. Now, we don't recommend taking this product with our prebiotic because that's a fermentable fiber. It's an oligosaccharide blend, which is part of the O in FODMAP. We don't want to give you that fermentable fiber if we're trying to reduce that fermentation for a period of time. So don't take them together because that would just kind of be the opposite effect of what we're trying to do. So FODMAPE, it's intended to break down these fermentable carbohydrates and fibers in the small intestine before they reach the colon so that bacteria aren't able to ferment them as much. It's not a broad spectrum enzyme. It doesn't have lipase in it to break down fats. It doesn't have enzymes to break down proteins. It doesn't break down gluten. We have another product that does that specifically. So it doesn't contain a broad spectrum enzyme blend, proteases, lipases, or bromelain, which is actually from pineapple. This is specifically targeted to those FODMAP foods. Okay.
Hey.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much. That was amazing.
Yes.
That
My
was amazing.
pleasure.
There's a lot there. Everybody take a breath. Take a breath.
Sorry. Sorry.
No,
I get so excited.
I know it was really good. Would you all, Lenore, Amanda, would you guys and gals please put the questions that you have in, and Aaron, in the Q&A box, because that will help me a lot. And that will get me closer to getting your questions answered. I do want to let you know that because of my lovely relationship with Microbiome Labs, they have exclusively given us 15% off everything at the site, including the stool testing and the vaginal microbiome test. The information's in the chat. You use the coupon code NOBLOAT15, use the link, and then it'll ask you for a patient direct code if it doesn't auto-populate, and that's SIBO SOS. So it's right there. And Margaret, pop that into the Q&A box instead of the chat. Debbie, please put that in the Q&A box instead of the chat. And so the Q&A box is probably on the bottom of your screen, and it literally has a box with a question mark, and it says Q&A. Thank you. The other thing is, if anyone did decide to go ahead, oh, can you hear me, Mary Ellen? I'll talk louder. Sorry. If anyone does decide to go ahead and pick up anything today from Microbiome Labs between now and 5 p.m. Eastern, you can email us at info@sibosos.com, and we will share the slides with you. So it's just a little extra hug and a kiss for anyone who wanted to take quick action. And that is info@sibosos.com. You send us your proof of purchase by 5 tonight. Don't send it tomorrow or in 3 days, because that happens sometimes. Please do it by 5 tonight Eastern time, and we will get you the link to Lacey's beautiful slides. Okay, here come the questions. Is it safe to take FODMAP with no gallbladder?
Oh, yes. Yes. Yeah. It's not going to have any influence on, it doesn't contain lipase for breaking down fat. And we often find that that's an area where individuals that have gone through the removal of a gallbladder, a cholecystectomy, need some support. It's more with the fat digestion as well. No, okay. It shouldn't impact that at all. Yep.
Okay. Someone's asked that I repost the link, so I'm doing that. Boom. Okay. Can you explain resistant starch again, please? Yeah.
Sorry, I went through that pretty quickly. So there's a few foods that we can use in our kitchen as kind of our little laboratory to create resistant starches. Now, again, if you're trying to follow a low FODMAP diet, you might want to avoid this area for a while. But resistant starches happen when we cook and cool foods. But there's certain foods like beans, corn, rice, that are specifically helpful. So if you cook these foods and then you cool them, and you get them out of the refrigerator, potatoes are another one, and you're eating them cold, especially in the summer. You can eat, let's say, like some sort of salad with some cold rice on it, or cold bean salad. They're very difficult to break down. Your body is not going to have the enzymes, the scissors, to break down those complex fibers. So it reaches your colon, and it becomes a really good fuel source for your healthiest groups of bacteria. So it really helps them flourish. On a normal day-to-day basis, they're excellent to incorporate in your diet, but they could cause bloating for certain individuals. So just be careful, but it's good to keep them around.
If you can. Tips about throwing the food into the freezer before it cools. Does that slow down the resistant starch process?
Oh, I actually don't know. You might know some more of those hacks than I know when it comes to slowing down that food science.
That's a Dr. Allison Seebecker tip that she shared with me.
Yes, yeah, I like that. That's fascinating. Yes.
Okay, let's see. All right, so fiber are only classified as polysaccharides. Can you explain the difference between fiber and the other non-digestible things like polys and oligosaccharides?
So yes, fibers are the polysaccharide portion, or the polysaccharides, the really long chain of carbohydrates that your body cannot break down. But when we're talking about FODMAPs, we're talking about different types of components and different levels of these carbohydrate links and chains that can cause issues. So the oligosaccharides, they're almost like a quasi fiber. They're not a total fiber, but they do bypass a lot of human digestion. So again, they act as what we call a prebiotic fiber. So they're sort of in between, but they do a lot to help nurture the microbiome as well. But they can cause, specifically, they can cause a lot of air and bloating.
Can you read? Oh, Patricia, you just got me to read out of the chat. Put it in the Q&A box, but I am going to do this one. Can you reheat cooked and cooled starchy foods?
You can. Now, you're challenging my food science knowledge there if it's going to change the resistant starch conform.
I think it would continue to make it resistant starch.
Yeah. I would think that I'd have to go back and look. Is there a way I can follow up with you and give you an answer to that?
No, there is not. Unless you post the answer underneath the YouTube. We'll post this in YouTube in a couple of days.
Okay.
So there is a way to do it. But I don't have the admin support to send someone an email.
Sure, that's fine.
You can go, hey, this question was asked. You can pop it in the comment section under the YouTube video. All right. FODMATE says you should only take for 2 months. What do you recommend?
Yeah. So again, we don't want this to become a crutch to the point where you stop eating those foods. We see that so often where people will not work to reintroduce foods. And when you look at that list, they're some of the healthiest foods that you can have in your diet. So we don't want to starve the microbiome. We are a microbiome focused company. That is our passion. That is what we look to do on a day-to-day basis. So to support. So we want people to have a limit in mind. Now, 2 months, it doesn't need to be set in stone. That's not written in concrete or anything like that. It's a general recommendation. The goal is for you to start adding back flexibility into your lifestyle, adding back those foods that are so nutritious that you can have just, an easier day to day.
More flex. I take one FODMATE per meal. So, and I'm going to finish your question, but don't take it out of the capsule is what I'm hearing.
Yes, don't take it out of the capsule because it has a delayed release cap on it. We want those enzymes to open at the end of digestion in the stomach and the beginning of the small intestine. That's where they're going to have the biggest effect so that they can really break down those fibers before they get too far down into the digestive tract. Yes.
Okay, so this person takes a FODMATE per meal and still gets diarrhea whenever I eat more than a very small portion of FODMAPs. What am I missing? Could it be one of the P ones?
It could be one of the P ones. It could be, I don't want to make it too complicated, but it can be another trigger. There are things with a visceral hypersensitivity. It's more like a sensitivity in the colon that can cause spasming. So it may be something even unrelated to FODMAPs. And there's different bacteria that can be woven into the diet for things like that as well. Now, so it's just the complexity of that. I don't want to go too far down a rabbit hole.
Any different. I just changed a setting. I'm not sure if it is impacting. But one of the questions or comments is you didn't explain why to stop using it. I'll just say, is it true? It's because you want why is it that you wouldn't want to keep this going forever?
Okay, because those FODMAPs feed your microbiome.
Yes.
FODMAP foods feed your microbiome. If you keep using it, you're starving your microbiome. And if you starve your microbiome is a portal and a gateway to overall health. The microbes that live in your gut, the bacteria play a role in heart health. They play a role in GLP-1 synthesis. It plays a role in your gut-brain connection and how well you sleep. So we don't want to starve the microbiome. So do it for a temporary period of time, and hopefully you can start weaving in those food components.
Jill, this is a product that is made by Microbiome Labs, so that's why it's available there. Okay, so FODMATE does not target the polyols. If so, what is the enzyme that does? Is there an enzyme commercially available that does target them?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know. Do you know? Do you have any?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm
okay.
not familiar with it.
Yeah.
Does this help digest beans?
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay, great.
And the enzyme in there, the alpha galactosidase, is about 14 times higher than that found in Beano. So you're going to have a much more potent and effective dose, a clinically effective dose.
Mac, put your question into the chat for me, not the chat, the Q&A box for me. So the other thing about beans, we were just talking about this yesterday in the SIBO small group coaching with Dr. Allison Seebecker, and people were saying for beans, great to use the product here, but also like the Instapot, and also if you are doing canned beans, the brand Eden, E-D-E-N,
yeah,
they are known for like pre-rinsing the beans before they go into the cans, etc.
Yep. Yeah. And if you're doing it at home, there's things that you can do to help reduce the fermentation by changing the water, by cooking it with kombu, which is a type of seaweed that helps with reducing the fermentation qualities. I really don't know how the kombu helps, but it does. I don't know if it's just more, experimental.
The thing about FODMAPs, everyone, for you to keep in mind is that they are a symptom management concept.
Yes.
So it's symptom management. So this is, and also to help perhaps with prevention of relapse for like SIBO, for example, although it's like, that's kind of controversial. But the main thing is to know if you have gut issues, IBS, SIBO, all these things where you get these bloating, and that can be from other things too. But these FODMAPs are for symptom management because it's low fermentation. So you're trying to reduce that fermentation. Okay. We gotta keep going here a little bit faster. Should I refrain from taking acacia fiber when taking FODMATE?
No, if acacia fiber isn't causing a problem for you, and especially, it's found in the caps of a lot of dietary supplements as well. I would just take it as an individual needs basis. And, there's some fibers that don't cause as many issues for individuals, like sun fiber and stuff like that. So I think it just depends on your own tolerance and what's working for you.
Excuse me. Well, can you take it while taking Mega Pre? Not with it at the same time, but like 6 hours later or whatever.
Yeah, I guess I just want to know, why would you want to do that? Unless you were, I guess, hear me out here. So if you're taking FODMATE because you're about to eat a meal right now that has FODMAPs in it that are causing problems, okay, take your FODMATE. That's going to be a very targeted and specific approach. And then away from that, do your Mega Pre. That's fine. But if you're on a low FODMAP diet for a period of time, as like a therapeutic protocol, table the Mega Pre, wait a couple months, because it's just going to go against what you're doing. It's not going to lead to symptom management for you. So I think it depends if you're using it for a targeted reason or if you're using it for truly a low FODMAP diet.
Can you take it with kefir?
So the kefir, depends on how it's manufactured. A lot of the reasons why we need to supplement with enzymes is because our own body doesn't produce as many as we age, but also because of the way we've cooked and overcooked and processed foods, there's less naturally occurring enzymes in the foods themselves. Now with kefir, it depends on if it's naturally fermented. Now the FODMATE will break down the lactose component of it that can be causing bloating if that's an issue for you. I guess, again, I just want to know, why are we taking them both at the same time? Is the kefir causing bloatedness? Because if it is, then the FODMATE can help.
Okay.
I think that can help.
And Susan, this is a loaded question. Susan,
Okay.
I started the FODMAPs diet with the intention to reintroduce food and haven't had much luck. Susan,
Yeah.
I am curious if you've been doing enzymes, if you've tried this one. I understand that this is a loaded question, but if you've had others with similar situations, can offer some suggestions on how to do it more effectively. I would add FODMATE.
Yeah, definitely add FODMATE. If you're having a hard time with the reintroduction, and of course it depends on everything that's happened there. I'd want to get more into the gut protocol or dig more deep into the symptoms that you're experiencing. If it's related to something like SIBO, or if it's related to lower issues within the colon and the bacteria there, and maybe we can troubleshoot a little bit more. It's hard to say from a broad sense.
Okay, we're going to go a little bit faster. And just remember, none of this is medical advice. This is an educational consult and gathering in a public forum, semi-public forum. Is it safe to do with a J pouch? There's no colon.
Yeah, it's safe to do the J pouch. Yeah, it actually may give you relief. If you are getting a lot of air production within the J pouch, then it's something that can certainly help you. With that, I'd want to then just be thinking about, micronutrients and other nutrients that you need to be supplementing with too.
Is it advisable to take with a broad spectrum enzyme supplement as well?
Yeah, it's not going to impact that. Again, they have different functions. You can take them at the same time. They're not going to compete with each other. So that's totally
Okay.
doable.
I'm getting a request to be louder. So I literally just had a meeting beforehand and it was fine. So
Yeah.
I'll just speak a little bit more loudly. Sorry if some people hear me screaming. What if you've been taking 8 a day for years? Should you wean off?
Yeah, I would try to wean off. I'd be asking the question, why haven't you been able to wean off? What is it? Have we identified specific triggers? And if not, I think that needs to be a next step because we have to be able to introduce those types of foods into your diet to some extent, because I'd just be worried about the microbiome health at that point.
And do you take it before meals? During
Yeah,
meals?
take it with your meals, like before your meal, before you start consuming food, take it then. Take it basically at the onset of eating. Don't take it afterwards. Your food will already be entering into the small
Right,
intestine.
and you saw the picture of the
Yeah.
stomach. Do you have any tips for reintroducing? I think we already did this. How does it work with reintroductions? It's just use it.
It's hard. It is hard. Like, I think as humans, let's be real about that. Keep a little diet log, write it down, whether you're not, a paper person or a phone person, find a way to track so that you can just kind of track those symptoms in a diary.
Okay, so the temperature of cooking and cooling certain foods changes the bonds in them.
Yes.
Resistant starch. Like, how does the fiber that is in certain food change when cooking and cooling? So that's the resistant starch concept again.
Yeah, it's to my knowledge, I'm not a food scientist, but it's the carbohydrates are expanded when and the links are expanded when they're warmed. Then when they cool, they shrink down, and once they shrink down, those bonds can't be attacked by the enzymes themselves. It just becomes such a tight conformation that the body can't snip away. The bodily enzymes can't use their little scissors and break them down. So it bypasses digestion.
Can FODMAPE work for dairy?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Or in lactose, it'll help break down. Yes.
And I think that's really important what you said about the beans, that it's so much stronger than the
like Beano.
Beano. And is this vegetarian?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Just remember, for those of you who are vegetarians or vegans, Beano is not.
Oh, it's not.
No, that has I want to call them a crusty fish. It's not. It's like a crustacean fish. It has like a seafood.
Oh, wow.
The enzyme is vegetarian, but do this instead and get the bigger bang for your buck. Okay, could you take it for targeted reasons after you eat if you start getting bloated?
It might be a little too late, I would have to say. It's just the way in which we're layering in food that we're eating, that we're putting an enzyme on top. I mean, you can give it a shot, but its indication, it really wouldn't have as big of an impact. You want to get ahead of it.
Go a little bit faster. I've been using, let's see, we already did, so we kind of already did that one. When certain foods allow a small portion of the food, do you need to limit the food by category or just by the individual food item? For example,
it depends. It can be a mix in different foods. Sorry, go ahead.
Right. I have a recipe that calls for snow peas and broccoli. If 10 snow peas are allowed and a half a cup of broccoli is allowed, I would need to cut down each portion ? And do like a quarter cup broccoli and 5 snow peas.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a dose dependence, I'm sure, like an amount that's going to cause, but I feel like we can start to split hairs there. It's going to be hard. Yeah.
This is that like leap of trial and error that you need to dive into that is very annoying.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, there's Pat, there wouldn't be any one person who could tell you what food to avoid because everyone's microbiome is different.
Yep. No tests on the market can tell you that specifically, how you're going to react.
So do you have a list of foods that you would use with the FODMATE?
I would just use that FODMAP list. I don't remember what slide number it is, but it's got a lot of different foods on there that's going to be your primary target to look at.
If you take an enzyme, does it kill the nutritional value?
No, it does not. But the fiber component, as it breaks down the fiber, you're not going to get the benefits of eating a high fiber food. So it's going to break it down so your bacteria can't eat it. but you still get to absorb the nutrients. So that's the nice flexible part of it. So you're eating something like broccoli. Okay, well, we're going to break down those fibers so it doesn't feed the bacteria to cause bloating, but you can still absorb the nutrients there. So that's kind of the benefit of using it this way.
And if anybody wants that chart and the slides, I know, I think Lara just bought before 5 p.m. Eastern time, and you just email us at info@SIBO.sos. That's your little bonus for doing that within that time frame, info@SIBO.sos.com. But please do send us the proof of purchase like right when you do it. So like right before 5, or because that really helps my team. Because this is a big ask of my team. I'm like, hey guys, can you send the link to anybody who sends us this email within da, da, da? And so they pay extra special attention, and it's a little bit of a heavy lift for them. So they're happy to do it, but it just does need to be by 5 today if possible. Okay, let's see. I'm just trying to get somebody who I haven't already gotten to before. Oh, when a person is sensitive and or allergic to nearly everything, I'm so sorry. What are the things I can do to be able to eat more? Enzymes is definitely a great idea. I'm so sorry that you're so underweight and that there's so much fear around eating food. It's legit. What do you say for people who are suffering like that, and how can you help people what should they be thinking about in order to gain more healthy body weight?
Yeah, no, and that's so hard because you start to live in fear of just enjoying your next meal, and food should be enjoyed. I would say go slow. You can, of course, identify a list of safe foods, but you're going to have to keep, trying to expand there and see if you can incorporate more. And I think you take one step forward and 3 steps back a lot of times. And I think just being patient with yourself, being forgiving of yourself, and just being prepared to start over, giving your body a break too when you feel like you're pushing it too far, and going slow.
I do think working with a nutritionist or a registered dietitian, a functional trained food coach is a great idea. That really, you need support, and you deserve it. You deserve support. I also think there probably are some good Facebook groups for that. That community might be something to consider. And I'm not saying Facebook is the end all be all. I'm just saying it's something for you to go through the Rolodex. Okay, Justin, I'm on FODMAP diet for SIBO, and I'm vegan. Legumes and beans play a big part of my food intake normally. Can you suggest other foods to provide enough protein on the low FODMAP diet?
That is a vegan source. Oh, I usually don't turn to any sort of protein powders, but you can use that as a way to supplement the diet for a period of time, just as a Band-Aid solution. Again, it's not my most favorite, and it also depends on if you enjoy eating tofu or edamame. You may have some issues with, but you'd want to be careful there. Of course, if you are going to eat tofu, eat organic. Same with tempeh. Tempeh is fermented. It has more of its own naturally occurring enzymes as well. But if that doesn't cause as much pain or fermentation or anything like that.
Extra firm tofu, I think.
Yeah. I'm a fan of tofu, but it's there's mixed,
It's a mix. Yeah. Let's see. Will doing the low FODMAP diet for a period of time, weeks and months, reduce or eliminate SIBO? No, it will not. I'm just going to save time there and tell you that it will not.
You have to will not. Yes.
Overgrowth. Okay. I see a dietitian, and she isn't aware of an enzyme that breaks down polyols. It's a great business opportunity for Microbiome Labs to break the code. Go, Rebecca.
Well, we own the biggest bank of enzymes in the world, so you may be onto something.
Exactly. How long do you need to test a reintroduced high FODMAP food before you know it's not or it is causing you problems?
Yeah, I mean, I'd stay on a low FODMAP diet for, about 3 weeks, especially if you're getting symptom relief, and then start to reintroduce one at a time, giving it a couple of days in between. Try to eat it a couple of times. You may not eat it once and feel all of the, the bloatedness that you had experienced before, but give it a few days.
Okay. Okay, keeping going here. After a very long course of antibiotics years ago, I developed multi-food sensitivities. My diet has been extremely limited since then and have become very underweight. Can I ever get to the point where I can eat without massive stomach issues again? Of course, your own individual microbiome is up for grabs here. And so that is, she can't answer that. But with multiple food sensitivities, what do you suggest?
Yeah, I think enzymes could be a really big help for you. And it might not just, it would be beyond FODMAPE. I think you can do different enzymes that help with the breakdown of wheat and gluten that you find, even this tiny amounts that get into your food residually, and then a broad spectrum enzyme as well that might give you more flexibility. And then doing some deeper healing of the microbiome itself, because it plays such a big role in overall immune health, which is your sensitivities.
Are there any probiotics that specifically help FODMAP intolerance? Are you familiar?
No, not to my knowledge. No. I mean, we'd want to just basically work on making your microbiome more functional, allowing it to break down, working on the entire core of it. But there
So
isn't.
I would definitely consider Megaspore, because
Yes,
those are those. You want to explain what Megaspore is in case someone's never heard of it?
sure. Now, Megaspore isn't designed to specifically target the breakdown of FODMAPs, but it's going to help reset the foundation of the gut. Megaspore is a different type of bacteria. They're spore bacteria. That means they're able to bypass all your digestion, make it through your stomach, make it all the way to your colon, which is about a 20-foot journey to reach your colon to actually do its work. So what Megaspore does is it helps to feed your healthy groups of bacteria, and this helps more bacteria grow. Now, one of the most important things about a microbiome is that you want as many bacteria there as possible. The more, the better. And that's what Megaspore is really good at doing. It's helping to help the good bacteria grow while limiting the bad bacteria there. And so it does a really good job at that. We find that a lot of people reduce their food sensitivities on the back end and their food allergies, because it's going to help your immune system function more properly at the end of the day.
Can you take, okay, so you're saying to avoid prebiotics with it, or is there a specific prebiotic to avoid?
If you're on a low FODMAP diet,
Yeah,
like all day, every day, don't take a prebiotic with it, because that is a fermentable oligosaccharide. That is something we want to, that's the O in FODMAP.
it would all of a sudden become a higher FODMAP diet.
Yeah, that's creating a high FODMAP. So don't do that. Just avoid it. As much as I love prebiotics, don't take it.
Okay.
Wait till you're done and you're through that phase of a diet. But if you're only taking FODMAPE for, okay, I'm going to eat a bean and cheese burrito for lunch and I know I'm going to get bloated, so I'm going to take that FODMAPE, then yeah, you can take the prebiotic away from it if you're using it as a targeted therapy.
Okay. So,
Okay.
Yes, so we're going to ask you to define roughage.
Roughage, yeah, that's I don't know if there's a real technical definition for roughage, but it is just fiber in general. Those polysaccharides, those long chain carbohydrates and the fibers. Oftentimes I think people are just referring to leafy greens. I don't know if there's an actual like scientific term for roughage. I think it's just what our parents called it.
Yeah, exactly.
And my grandmother, yeah.
You've taken countless digestive enzymes over the years and never noticed a difference.
Yeah.
I think that because I do a lot of conversations about enzymes, I like keep trying different formulations is what I want to say. And can I keep increasing the dose, or is there a limit is the question?
I don't think there's a limit, but I think if it's not working at the therapeutic dose that they've designed, then you probably just need to try another one.
Right.
And then if you think that you actually have a medical condition, then you can get checked for some of those enzyme levels and pancreatic insufficiency, but you'd have to go to your medical provider to do that as well.
Does it help with histamine response?
No, it will not help with histamine response.
Is there a formula at Microbiome Labs that helps with histamines?
No, I mean, a lot of histamine production can happen in the gut. So again, just changing the microbiome composition with something like Megaspore can do a lot of that legwork for you, rather than taking a supplement for such a long time.
Because remember, MCAS, mast cell activation syndrome, that's all part of that whole histamine cascade. So I'm way oversimplifying it, but that's also something you can, look up online. And I think it's Beth O'Hare has a really nice site on that type of thing. Will your supplement help with C. diff? The antibiotics I've been put on have put me on an ongoing spiral. I'm so sorry to hear that. That's literally deadly. I'm so sorry. It can be. And of course, that's not what I'm saying is going to happen to you, but talk to your doctor, because there are answers for this. Lacey?
No, it is hard. No, this is not going to impact a C. diff infection at all, for good or for bad. It's going to be neutral. Now, you can use different products. You can use something called IgG Is that something you talk about? Am I allowed to talk? Okay.
Yeah, please.
So there's a
Yes.
product called IgG, and it's basically an immunoglobulin, a protein from cow's blood. I know it sounds crazy, but what it does when you take it is that it binds to bacterial toxins. So it can bind to the toxins that C. diff releases and causes that inflammation and causes the diarrhea a lot of times that's associated with it. That's really calming. I would definitely recommend taking that. And then you can also take something called HU58 or Megaspore, and that can play a role in helping to crowd out and compete with C. diff as well. But definitely keep your doctor, informed on any sort of changes in symptoms because it can be life-threatening.
So, what I've heard is the most effective treatment for C. diff, like when they've tried everything, is
FMT.
thank you,
Yeah.
fecal microbiota transplants. So that there are like traditional doctors doing that type of thing. So if you haven't had that conversation, please do with your provider.
There's a Netflix documentary that they even highlight that. It's awesome. Hack Your Health. It's all about the microbiome. Definitely watch it. And, with FMTs, about 6 months down the road, though, we do see recurrence of symptoms. So we want to, again, just keep working on that garden, working on that microbiome, planting the right seeds.
4 minutes. Can PPIs cause SIBO symptoms?
Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
Can PPIs cause SIBO
Oh,
symptoms? Sorry.
Oh, I mean, do you want to take this one? This is your wheelhouse, but absolutely.
Go ahead.
No, absolutely. If you're reducing stomach acid, especially chronically, because a lot of people that get on a proton pump inhibitor that's limiting stomach acid, then you're eventually, you have the possibility of letting a lot of bacteria through that should have been killed in the stomach. So then they're able to live and thrive in the small intestine, and this can link to SIBO and symptomology.
Okay, we did that. But we've already covered these. How is this for the need for pancreatic enzymes?
Yeah, we're not using any enzymes in this blend that your pancreas is creating. So this is just an added benefit, something that isn't found in your own human body.
I am deficient in IgA production per genetic tests and show throughout my life and would like Microbiome Labs to please offer a product. I take one of the powders that is a small amount but need a lot more to reduce rhinitis, bronchitis, and GI sensitivity. Please, please, please. So if they're deficient in IgA, do you have anything that you can pull out of your back pocket to help?
I pull out my back pocket. Oh, that's hard. Now we do have some bacteria and some strains that are in our pipeline that we're developing that are specific to helping target upper respiratory, lung, throat, nasal, and sinus. That we have some research there. We're not quite ready yet, but it's something we definitely get a lot of questions on.
Best time to take HU58, and if you could explain what that is, please.
Yeah, HU58 is a type of bacteria. It's one strain of bacteria called Bacillus subtilis. Now, Bacillus subtilis is really cool because when you take it, when it reaches your colon, it is able to secrete natural antimicrobials to attack bad strains of bacteria and pathogens without damaging any of your healthy groups of bacteria. So it's very targeted. It's very stealth-like. It's going to help clean up any sort of gut infection. It's one of our favorite ones. It provides a lot of benefits for protecting the gut. When's the best time to take it? There's a lot of people will take it in between meals. We actually now recommend taking it with meals, just the way in which our ancestors got bacteria in their bodies over a period of time is through the meals that they were eating. So we recommend taking it with meals.
Some love into the chat for Lacey. What a great presentation. Short, sweet, to the point. We got to a variety of questions. I think like 60 or something crazy. I don't know. It was a lot.
Wow.
But I really appreciate you all coming. I do hope you'll check out everything at the site and get that 15% off. Normally you have to go to a provider to get access to them in general, much less they're not giving you the 15% off. And wasn't it great, Teresa? And then if you do decide to pick these up, anything from the site by 5 p.m. Eastern in the next hour, we will give you the link to the slides just as a little hug and a kiss. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. And Lacey, you did a phenomenal, phenomenal job.
Well, thanks everyone. It was great to be here.
As always. I do want to make one announcement, and that is that July 9th, we are doing another. So I usually do these once a month, and it's like stretched out like every 4 weeks. However, there was a topic that I was absolutely dying to get to, and it is going to be on July 9th with Sarah from your team.
Nice.
She's going to be talking about the digestive system, the organs,
Cool.
and the anatomy, and how to maximize the anatomy and your functioning of your digestive system. She did that talk for someone else, and I got an email about it. I was like, oh, I need to bring that to us.
Awesome.
So,
Nice.
FYI. So just letting you know, just read your emails. They'll come in hot for you. Thank you all so much. We look forward to next time. And Lacey, keep up the great work. Thank your team, and thank you. And big hugs, everybody.
Yeah, big hugs.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.